All right, we are loaded up into the car. I've got a cake on my lap. There's baked goods in boxes. There's a coffee cake. There's cake on the floor. There's cake in the passenger seat. We are loaded up. My brother's driving. He's been logistics coordinator and helper. Very thankful. It's 29 minutes to the fairgrounds where we will see what the drop off scene is like. So stay tuned. This is what the line was looking like at around 11:30 when we arrived. This is the view from the back of the line. We weren't really sure at this point what the inside was going to look like, but when we got in, we saw that they were snaking people around, and the actual end of the line was in the next room. So we sort of just stayed here, not knowing what we were going to see in the next room quite yet. Everyone in line was super friendly and helpful, and everyone was obviously excited to be dropping things off. My brother ran back to get the cakes we had left in the car because we realized the line was so long, and since we couldn't really carry them all, we sort of just kept moving them along on the floor next to the line. Finally, we reached the end of the line where you're divided into two mini lines by last name, so you can pick up your packet with all of your entry information. Then you get funneled into another line and you wait to get to a check-in desk with the people who take your bakes. My brother was thankfully paying a bit more attention than I was to our surroundings at this point, and he was filming what the process looked like. As you can see, beyond these check-in areas, there were a lot of tables that had a lot of different baked goods on them that were clearly broken up by category. They had labels, so there were people in the back who were getting everything to the right place. The ladies at the check-in were super friendly and chatty, and I was definitely very confident in the process. Like, they clearly had it streamlined and down, and, we're marking things off electronically, labeling everything. It was a very smooth process. I'm including more of the videos and photos that my brother took of the behind-the-scenes, sorting process here. I find all logistics problems like this somewhat interesting, especially at this scale. There's thousands of baked goods, dozens of categories. Everyone's dropping off in a 4-hour window. They've got to get it all sorted and ready for judging. So it's just interesting to see because I was really unsure what was going to happen after I just dropped my baked goods off. Then after drop off, I just signed their electronic form, and then they gave me a paper copy with all of the info about my entries and a pin because it was the 85th anniversary of the building. And then we were free to go with way less weight to carry out and just some empty boxes. The line as we left was still about the same length as it was when we went in, and they might have even been packing more people inside the building. It was around 11:30 when we were fully done with the process, so it does seem like it probably stays like a long line for the full drop-off time. Not sure what it's like if you show up at 9:30, like right as it starts, or if you're showing up right at the end, but it was a busy time. Okay, back from the drop-off process. It was a very long line, and we did not bring a wagon, which would have been the move, I think, because we were doing lots of box carrying. We did a pretty good job, but the cakes were in large boxes that we sort of had to sit on the floor and scoot occasionally. But overall, went smoothly. Everyone was super friendly. It was pretty streamlined. It was just a long line. The two ladies checking in on my baked goods were super friendly and chatty and Minnesotan, as you'd expect. And got a bagel and coffee afterwards, so I feel refreshed after the past 2 days. Gonna take it easy, but still a bit more baking to finish up. These are all of the leftovers. I was trying my hardest to bake as little as possible, like the smallest amounts, because you only needed 4 of the bars and cookies. For cookies, I was able to reduce the recipes down to basically the limit of 1 egg was as far as I could go, so did a lot of that. And I left a lot of the cookie dough frozen so that it can stay and I can give it to people as not inundating them with too many treats. But I did have to overbake on the bars because you kind of have to bake the whole bar loaf, the bar tin. And then I did bake some extra cookies in some cases because they either didn't turn out the way I wanted them in the first bake. Some of them were too big. Some of them, I think, like my pinwheels had some gaps in them, so I did a different batch. And then the corn cookies I'm baking extra through the oven right now because they're frosted. I want to give them to people frosted. So there's a fair amount of extra, but gonna try to pawn them off on as many people, so I'm just gonna start assembling little grab bag boxes for people. There's gluten-free blondies, which will be contaminated by the gluten in the box. I don't know anyone gluten-free though. Pinwheel cookies, the chocolate caramelized white chocolate, the strawberry shortbread bars, a few shortbread, blondies, and the root beer float brownies, and the corn cookies. So it's gonna be a real smattering and probably too many boxes, but we're gonna do it.